Mike, now to a big win for tribal nations as the Supreme Court upheld a federal law that gives preference to foster care and adoption of Native American children by their relatives and tribes. I spoke to the Cherokee Nation's principal chief about why the Indian Child Welfare Act was and still is important today. The U.S. Supreme Court has rejected challenges to a federal law that prioritizes placement of Native American children with Native families in child custody proceedings. The Indian Child Welfare Act was first passed in 1978 to remedy what Congress called a disgraceful history. Hundreds of thousands of Native American children removed from their homes and placed with white families, stripping them of their native language and culture.
Well, this is a wonderful day. It's the right decision, and it's a decision by a good margin, 7-2.
Cherokee Nation Principal Chief Chuck Hoskin Jr. explains why the 1978 decision is still important today.
It's still pertinent if we all agree on this idea that tribes are sovereign nations, and any sovereign nation ought to have an interest in the health and welfare and well-being of their children, which is the most precious resource of any nation.
Opponents called this racial discrimination, overpowering the best interest of a child. Hoskin says to agree with that would be to overturn more than a century of legal principles.
It hasn't been that way in this country, hasn't been viewed that way in this country, because we are citizens of nations that were here before there was a United States, before anyone ever heard of a state of Oklahoma. We were here first. That still means something.
Hoskin said there is not a concern that there won't be a Native American family to take in a foster child, and calls that idea a misconception because the Indian Child Welfare Act doesn't dictate a decision. That's for a judge. But ICWA guarantees tribes are involved and all necessary measures are taken to keep the Native American children with a Native American family. And President Biden issued a statement celebrating the decision and saying, in part, in the not-so-distant past, Native children were stolen from the arms of people who loved them. The Indian Child Welfare Act was our nation's promise, never again.